What's up everyone, welcome back to a brand new video. Like we saw at the end of the Buu saga, Majin Buu eventually got reincarnated into Oob. Not too long ago that got me thinking, what if that happened with Frieza? So I made a series about Frieza being reincarnated. But that one's gonna end soon, so I decided why not try another one similar to that, one with another villain and one that I'm much more fond of. Naturally, that one would be Cell. So, how would this work, and what would even happen? Today, we'll be covering a scenario where Cell gets reincarnated, and not as a human, but something else. For this video, let's hit a like goal of 3,500 likes. If we hit that goal, I'll know that there's enough interest to continue this series. Anyways, let's begin this story. So we do have kind of a predicament here. Cell dies so late into the story that he would still be a kid by the Buu saga. See, with the Frieza one it was different, because he died about midway into where Z was. And even though he was young in the Buu saga, we were still able to work around that and make him be useful. But for Cell it would be a lot harder. At most, he'd only be 7 by the time the Buu saga rolls around. Probably even younger, assuming that the reincarnation doesn't happen right away. But the thing is, that happens if he were a human. If he's reincarnated as something else, it actually won't be an issue. So, let's rewind a bit. Goku is with King Kai, right after Cell is killed. Gohan was able to claim victory, and even though Goku had to sacrifice himself, everything's okay now. But still, Goku's reflecting on everything. Cell was pretty fun to fight. He enjoyed that whole battle that he had with him, and even seeing Cell's power against Gohan got him excited. It would be great if Cell were somehow able to come back as a good guy. I mean, think about it. All that power is going to waste. Not to mention, it would be great having another strong ally like that, especially someone like Cell. Goku sees a lot of himself in him. The two of them just enjoy fighting and getting stronger. Even though this is just casual conversation, King Kai takes note of this. It gives him kind of an idea. Yeah, Goku is right. I mean, not that he cares about having someone to fight, because that's not how King Kai is. No, he's more so interested in having another strong person protecting Earth. Especially with Goku gone, that might help a lot. It's not like he can do anything about it though, but he knows someone who can. He is still mad at Goku for blowing up his whole planet and all, but he's calmed down a bit and realized that it was the best course of action. Although he wishes Goku were just fast enough to teleport them away from the planet. But he puts that behind him. He's gonna put in a good word for Goku. They continue their journey in Otherworld as King Kai tries to find a new planet. Not long after all the events of the Cell saga, things on Earth are returning to normal. And unknown to them, King Kai asks King Yama for a favor. Well, not really a favor, more so a suggestion. He wants Cell to be reincarnated. And you know what? Yama actually agrees. He'd rather not have Cell running around in hell. And it would be nice to have another strong person trying to prevent future Cells. Whether it be another threat like Frieza, another android, or some other villain. Let's shift over to Namek now. Something weird happens there that no one really expected. Occasionally, new Namekians are born. Periodically, new eggs are made. Eventually though, this leads to the creation of a very odd egg. I mean, odd's the only way to describe it. They sense an amazing power within, and it takes a bit longer to hatch than the other eggs. They're not too sure what's happening but begin speculating. Maybe it's the birth of a strong new warrior, one that came about purely by chance. They won't know until the egg hatches though, and as time passes, eventually a new Namekian child is born. Right away they notice that he's very unique. He's born with certain features that not many Namekians have, specifically the shape of his head. It's the birth of a brand new warrior Namekian, just like they theorized, and the elders already sense his great potential. Back in Otherworld, King Kai is with Goku and informs Goku that King Yama told him something pretty interesting. Recently a new Namekian was born, and apparently he's Cell's reincarnation. Goku's amazed to hear this. Not only is Cell reincarnated, but a Namekian? Cool, just like Piccolo. That's probably the reason he came back as that. Well, not really, but King Kai appreciates the enthusiasm. Goku's kinda bummed though. He can't go and face this guy or train him. He is dead after all. But he decides to inform everyone else. They may be able to make something of it. Although, this Namekian child's really young right now, and they don't know much about him. But if Goku tells them now, they'll know for a few years down the road. The reason why I chose a Namekian is because it's easier to fit his facial features in. I feel like trying to turn Cell into a human will look kinda weird. And also, being a Namekian gives him a lot more abilities that he wouldn't have as a human. Specifically regeneration. And not to mention, it means he would age faster, assuming he ages like Piccolo. Even though he'll only be a few years old by the time the Buu saga rolls around, if he grows at the rate Piccolo does, he'll be more than fully grown by then. Anyways, Goku begins talking to Gohan, Vegeta, and Piccolo. Feeling that they'll get the most out of hearing this, they're surprised to hear him. It's been kind of a while, about a few months since he died. But they're glad to hear from him. The reason he's contacting them is because it's important. Cell's been reincarnated. Wait, he's back again? They're immediately concerned at first, thinking he means like when Cell regenerated before. But no, not that. He actually did die, and this time he was reincarnated, but as a good guy, so there's no need to worry. This Namekian is completely pure of heart. He's pretty young right now, but he's gonna grow up as a warrior Namekian. As for his name, well, I was kind of stuck on trying to figure out what to use for him. I did have a couple options, but eventually narrowed it down to one name that I think fits pretty well. Saibo, a play on the Japanese word for cell. I mean, it kind of works in a way. Anywho, Goku tells them more. Saibo has some great potential for a Namekian. The other warriors and elders can even sense it within him. He's also inherited some abilities from Cell, not just crazy potential and power, but he doesn't know what yet because he's still training. Sometime down the road, he hopes that the people on Earth will try and meet him somehow. Maybe they can help harness his power and find a new ally that way. But it is kind of tough for them to get in contact with him. I mean, he is on a completely different planet. They'd have to fly to Namek again. And especially after last time, well, it didn't go too well, so they kind of don't want to do that again. But hey, planetary destruction is way less likely this time around without Frieza. So maybe it would be nice. But Goku begins thinking, maybe there's another way for them to meet Saibo. Eventually, he has King Kai come into contact with him, a couple years down the road after he's done a bit of training. They would invite him to Otherworld to train, but King Kai doesn't have a planet yet, and Saibo's not dead, so he's not really welcome here. He's done giving people special permissions. Losing one planet's enough. Anywho, since Saibo's gotten pretty old by now, he should be self-sufficient, and the Namekians are training him, but he's growing at an alarming rate. They've even unlocked his potential at this point too, and even then they weren't able to unlock all of it. Just with that little bit alone, he was able to surpass every other Namekian in terms of power. They were amazed. And this is where King Kai comes in. He asked if they'd be willing to send him to Earth. There's people that he could train with there to get stronger. They remember Piccolo. Dende's there too. Piccolo's the strongest Namekian that they know, especially after they're informed of his fusion with Kami. Plus, there's other strong people on Earth. They remember that one Saiyan Vegeta, and although they're not too fond of him, well, it should be okay. Also, there's Gohan there, one of the heroes that helped save Namek. They'd be fine sending him there, and he agrees. Awesome, they could take him right now. But how's he gonna get there? Goku has a pretty good idea. King Kai gives him permission to do this. Goku places 2 fingers on his head and teleports to Namek. And this is the first time we actually see Saibo in person. Wow, he really does look like Cell. I mean, that crown's kinda unmistakable. He's definitely Cell's reincarnation. Saibo wonders if this is the guy that's gonna train him, but Goku says he's kinda acting as a taxi. He tells Saibo to grab on, as he then teleports the both of them to Earth. On the lookout, Piccolo, Dende, and Mr. Popo turn around and see. Goku's back? And he's with some Namekian that kinda looks like Cell in a way. They weren't expecting this. Before Goku leaves, they call everyone else up on the lookout. Not only for Saibo to meet everyone, but since everyone wants to see Goku one last time. He can't stay for long, but King Kai's helping him bend the rules a bit so he could stay for a bit just to say hi to everyone. Goku tells him everything about Saibo that he hasn't told him before, and he asked if Piccolo would be willing to train him. Piccolo agrees. Just from him standing here, he could sense the great potential in him. Everyone else is amazed or concerned to see him here. Cell's back, and apparently he's good now. Weird. And while he's here, Goku also gets to see his new son, Goten. It would be great if he could be here on Earth again, but he's gotta go back to Otherworld. It was nice seeing everyone, and after some words with his friends and his family, he says goodbye once more, and leaves one piece of advice with Saibo. That technique that he used to teleport, he could probably do it too. I mean, Cell could. Maybe Saibo has that somewhere within him. Anyways, Goku goes back to King Kai, and immediately, Saibo begins training with Piccolo. This will be his new teacher. With Gohan there as a fellow student, Piccolo actually encouraged Gohan to keep training. Not only would it be better to have 2 students, but he could help guide Saibo in the right direction. Gohan is the strongest here after all, especially after ascending past Super Saiyan like he did against Cell. Plus, maybe he can meet a new friend. Saibo seems pretty nice. Definitely nothing like the Cell that they knew before. As for Vegeta, he drops in occasionally, but he's a bit wary of Saibo. It's just Vegeta being Vegeta, but he does keep tabs on Piccolo and his students. The great thing is Piccolo knows a lot about Cell, having fought him and seeing him fight. Since Saibo is Cell's reincarnation, he not only has that great potential that Cell had, but probably some techniques within there. It shouldn't take him too long to learn different things. For example, any of Piccolo's techniques. Saibo is amazed at how easily he can replicate them, as Piccolo continues to whip him into shape, unlocking more of his power. Saibo also trains with Gohan a lot. The two get along pretty well, and this encourages Gohan to keep training too. You know, he was worried when he heard Cell was back, but this is nice. Eventually during this time skip, Vegeta butts into the training. He wants to spar with this kid, wondering how deep his power truly goes. The two don't really know each other, but Saibo's up for it. Vegeta's working towards Super Saiyan 2 right now, but shows off full-powered Super Saiyan. Saibo's already seen this against Gohan, but Vegeta's a lot more serious with his fight, and although he's weaker than Gohan, he's still pretty strong, and definitely will be a good opponent for a sparring match. The two begin their fight. Saibo powers up, and he is surprisingly strong, but he's still unrefined as of now, and Vegeta ends up winning. But it gave him a good feel for Saibo's power and his techniques. Also, Saibo is Cell, so Vegeta thinks of it as kind of him being part of Saibo too. Cell was part of Vegeta, so it would only be natural to assume that Saibo's kind of the same. Maybe. He's not really too sure how it works himself. But maybe that'll help him relate with this Namekian more. In terms of what Saibo's going to do after his training, they're not too sure. Maybe he'll go back to Namek, maybe he'll stay here, who knows. But for now, this little trip to Earth for a few years will be pretty helpful for him regardless. And Vegeta hopes he's going to stay longer because Vegeta now wants to train him. Wait, Piccolo's his teacher. He's not going to let Vegeta take his student. Besides, who is Vegeta taught anyways? Fine, he'll let Piccolo still teach him, but occasionally Vegeta wants to train with this kid. It's better to have two people showing him the ropes anyways, not to mention another partner like Gohan that he could fight with. This is kind of a weird turn for Vegeta, taking on a student? Piccolo's amazed. He never thought he'd see something like this. Goku was right to bring Saibo here. Not only is he growing really strong, but he's affecting everyone around him. Piccolo's getting stronger, Gohan's getting stronger, Vegeta got a student. It would be nice if he stuck around on Earth, but he understands if he's going to return back to Namek soon. And luckily, returning back to Namek won't be too hard for him. Over this time training, he begun picking up new techniques that Cell had, things that Cell inherited from other fighters around him, including instant transmission, which is incredibly helpful and probably the best thing that he picked up. We eventually arrive at the end of the time skip, and Saibo's trying to think of what to do. Staying here on Earth and on the lookout would be pretty nice. I mean, he's friends with Piccolo and Dende by now, not to mention all the other people on Earth. But he feels like his home planet does need him. They would benefit from strong warriors, but before he goes, they want to give him a test of power, kind of in a fun way. Gohan flies to the lookout one day, recruiting Piccolo for the World Tournament, as well as Saibo who's up there with him. He tells Saibo this would be a great test of his power, and while they could just fight each other on their own, being in a tournament setting would be pretty fun. And after all, it was Videl who put him up to the test. He wants to recruit as many people as possible. And you know what? Saibo agrees. It would be pretty fun, adding a competition element to the kind of training that he's doing. Although, there is one issue. Something that Piccolo brings up, and they're not really too sure how to solve it. Gohan asks what it is, and Piccolo mentions. I mean, doesn't Saibo look familiar? Well, yeah, he looks like Cell and all, but oh, Gohan sees the issue. I mean, Piccolo's in the same situation. People remember who he was after all. But for Saibo, it would be different. Piccolo was a bad guy, but never instilled the sense of fear that Cell did. People will see Saibo and immediately think that Cell's back somehow. The resemblance is almost uncanny. They never consider that. It may be an issue bringing him out in public. They could probably have Mr. Satan come up with some lie about how he made Cell turn good or something, but that still might not work. But Gohan has the perfect idea, something that Saibo will even go along with. By this point, Gohan's become the Great Saiyan and everything. He did need to hide his identity after all so he doesn't get caught trying to save people. And that did work out for him, so why not have Saibo become another Great Saiyan? Wait, he wants Saibo to wear one of those outfits? Piccolo says there's no way he'll be up for that, but Saibo agrees. He actually thinks that would be awesome. He grew up a lot with Gohan and relates to him a bit. He thinks that outfit's awesome. Finally, Gohan gets some appreciation around here. He knew that outfit and pose was cool. As they prepare for another Great Saiyan, or I guess the Great Saibo Man, everyone else starts preparing for the tournament too. Goku's excited as well. He'll be back for 24 hours, enough time to fight in the tournament and see everyone. It'll be a nice opportunity for him to meet Saibo again too. Curious to see how he's progressed. But as we know, the tournament's not going to go so smoothly. This entire time, Deborah and Babidi have been on Earth, trying to plan when to strike. The tournament seems like a perfect opportunity. A bunch of strong people will be there and they can get energy to revive Majin Buu. They wait patiently and happily for the tournament to come. And with that, we'll leave this part off here for now. So, what did you guys think about this concept and this part? What do you think will happen next time in the Buu Saga? Will Saibo get any new abilities? And how will he affect the people around him too? Leave your thoughts and suggestions in the comments below. I'll be sure to check them out to see what you guys think. As always, if you like the video, be sure to drop a like. And let's try to hit that like goal from the beginning of the video so we can get another part into this series. If you haven't already, why not subscribe? As well as hitting the bell icon to get notified about any future parts of this What If, or any other videos that I upload on my channel. Anyways, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all in my next video.